What up, nation? Welcome to another edition of the WiseTake NBA DFS Early Look CK013 here. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013. And I, of course, am from the WiseTake Nation, which you can find all the social media platforms listed below or directly at WiseTake.com. If you're looking to take your DFS game to the next level, we are a premium DFS content provider, as well as a DFS community designed to help make you a better DFS player. Go check us out, WiseTake.com. Day pass is only $2.50. So all the costs to try us out for a day. You get access to all the NBA content for a day, including our pre-lock live stream, which we do Monday through Friday, 45 minutes prior to lock, up to lock. Always fun. Get through some analysis, keep you posted on the latest news. Today was a lot of fun because I had CSV issues with my upload into FanDuel. It was a user error. It was my own mistake. I'll take the L on that one. Survived, right? Didn't win, but survived. Won most of the money back. Despite locking in guys like Jonas Valanciunas and Bradley Beal, who are my dummy team. But anyway, you live and you learn. That was exciting for those who watched, I would imagine, right? To see me squirm like that. But not the first time it's happened to me, and it won't be the last, right? It's part of the game. Anyway, if you're new to the channel, welcome. Subscribe and notifications bell. You came to the right place for free content as well here. Don't miss out on any of the free content we put out. And drop a comment. Give us a like. Most importantly, give us some share action. By you sharing the show, you help us grow. And by us growing, we're able to put more into our products. Not just at WiseTake.com, but our free content as well. So help us out. Help us all out as a community and share the show. All right. Changing pace, right? So we had like a 6-game slate because we had some cancellations and whatnot. We had like a 6-game slate yesterday. This one's a little bit different, right? We've got 10 games, I think it is, right? Assuming that we finally see a Toronto Raptor game go off. We're going to go game by game as we always do. And we'll try to go through as efficiently as we can. Starting with the Pacers in Cleveland. Obviously, the usual suspects that stand out are going to be Domantas Sabonis. Malcolm Brogdon's only 7-4 on FanDuel. His price has dropped a pretty good amount. I know he has not played as well over his last 4 games or 3 games or so. He missed one. But the price has gotten low. The issue, of course, is, number one, they're playing Cleveland, but the Pacers haven't exactly been good this year, let's be honest. And number two, this is a loaded slate. And we'll get into that as we go along further. But still a good price for him on FanDuel. You can see a 7-9 on DraftKings. But Sabonis is definitely the standout on the Pacers side. I'd be willing to go back to TJ McConnell. He's 5-9 on DraftKings. I'm not crazy about that, but I do think he's cheaper on. He's 5-6 on FanDuel, which could come in handy. Only got 24 minutes against the 76ers. So the minutes are kind of inconsistent. Not sure what you're going to get, but he obviously has upside. And playing a team like Cleveland that's very guard heavy, they could rock with him. On the Cleveland side, forgot Doug McDermott's also hurt. So, that could move things around. We'll see if he plays. He's questionable. And then I think Lamb has been dealing with some injuries, right? Lamb also a game-time decision. If those two guys are out, I wouldn't be surprised if they started McConnell and slid. We got Holiday, would pick up a ton of time at the 3. And I wouldn't be surprised if they started McConnell in that case. On the Cleveland side, they're also dealing with a ton of injuries, but they have been. Garland and Sexton are your first stops. Jared Allen, I don't love it. Indiana is a big team, right? We like to take Jared Allen against like tiny teams, small teams, right? Like the Rocket type teams. Rockets were no boogie, or would that is. But one thing I will say is teams have been going off against the Pacers. The Pacers have been one of those teams this year. Last year they were a slower team, better defensive team. This year they're in a lot of shootouts. Teams are putting up a lot of points on them. So there's something to consider, but it's never great to play Cleveland. Cedi Osman, 4,500 off the bench, assuming he's off the bench. There's just not a ton to like outside of the guards. And we're going to move on to Philly and Utah. This is probably going to be a good real-life game. In terms of fantasy, I'm not crazy about it. I'm okay with some Ben Simmons, especially if Tobias Harris were to miss. Simmons has a cheap price on FanDuel. right? We'll check the status on Tobias, who's missed 2 games. 8,500 though for Simmons isn't bad. Again, the issue is that the position is loaded, as you will soon see. I'm okay with Gobert. Mike Conley, I think, is going to draw a lot of Ben Simmons. Or is Donovan Mitchell going to draw Ben Simmons? Because one of these 2 guys, Mitchell or Conley, is going to draw like Seth Curry, right? And that's the one we want to take. Now, you would think Simmons is an elite defender. I think you would think they'd want him on Mitchell. But it's not like Conley's a pushover and Simmons is technically the point guard. But we'll see what they do. It would be just as easy for him to switch Simmons on. But if that's the case, that's a big upgrade to Mike Conley, which would give us no help because that position is, again, mega loaded. I'm okay with getting some Clarkson off the bench. I always am. I actually don't mind taking shots on like Seth Curry. If Tobias Harris is out, I guess we go back to Shake Milton, who's been playing really well, right? So there's some things to consider here, right? Maybe some Mike Scott. But we'll have to see what the injury news looks like. This is one of the highlight games here. Detroit and Toronto, assuming the game does actually play. Toronto hasn't played in a while, right? And they have a bunch of guys who are not playing. Still, no Pascal Siakam, no Fred VanVleet, no OG Anunoby. This is all health and safety protocol type things, right? So they're going to be pretty thin, pretty short-handed. All right, am I missing anyone else? The best place to look is on DraftKings, because I could single it out. McCall, Flynn, Harris. Flynn, McCall, OG, VanVleet, Siakam. So they're dealing with a lot of injuries. This is going to make them the optimal team. And I think you can play 3-4. FanDuel, you can only play a max of 4. DraftKings, maybe you could play 5. Personally, 4 is like my sweet spot number. I don't like to go past 4 in basketball. 4 players on the same team, that is. But depending on the price of these players and the roles of these players, the rules can be bent a little bit. For example, Kyle Lowry is 8,100 on both sites. It's not a great price when you consider the usage increase he should get. And they're playing Detroit, right? A team that you don't really envision beating him up, right? So Lowry looks like a pretty phenomenal place to start. And I would assume in cash games he's extremely owned, even on a slate that's massive and has a ton of point guards. Because we're looking at a player that we're assuming is not only going to get big minutes, because he always does. Not only has he played well already, but you're taking away VanVleet, you're taking away Siakam, OG. So yeah, I think he's going to be popular. Norman Powell is one of their scorers. I would assume he's been starting. He's been playing decent minutes. I would assume his minutes go up. Nick Nurse is not afraid to play his guys. Right? He will play his guys big minutes. Expect Powell to take a ton of shots. He's 6'7" on DraftKings, 6'8" on FanDuel. Chris Boucher. We may even see a scenario where Chris Boucher starts at the 4. And I only say that because, well, they probably won't because they like to play the backup center deal. But Chris Boucher, they're going to need some offense. Chris Boucher is their guy. Right? So on FanDuel at 6'6", he's power forward. So it's a lot easier to click his name over there. On DraftKings, he's, what is he? They may start Boucher. Probably not. I could probably start like Powell, Lowry, and Baines. But we'll have to see either way. Who's there to take away his usage? Nobody. As far as the cheaper players go, the value you might be asking about. You got DeAndre Bembry, who's been playing decent minutes already and has kind of picked up his game. Not a high usage player, but perhaps we see an increase in his usage. Paul Watson. Unlikely that he plays very much, right? Looks like he signed on Sunday, right? Terrence Davis, here he is. This guy I was looking for. I would assume Terrence Davis is going to have to play a little bit. And he's 3,500 on FanDuel, 3,400 on DraftKings. I would assume he's going to have to play a little bit. And I think he's just too cheap. On the flip side, Aaron Baines is 4K on both sides. We could see a scenario where he plays more. And we know he has upside. We saw it when he was on the Phoenix Suns last year. This year has been a totally different situation, totally different role. He's literally been like Marc Gasol. His Boucher's like Ibaka, and Baines is like Marc Gasol. They just don't do their jobs as well. But there's a lot of value. We also have Stanley Johnson, who's 3,500. Not really a guy that's playing a lot, but maybe this is the time where they have to play him. And again, I don't want Stanley Johnson just for the sake of Stanley Johnson. It's cheap. I'm thinking that maybe his usage is higher. And you can see why all the signs point you to guys like Boucher, guys like Powell, and guys like Lowry, who are high usage players. You just feel like they're going to need at least two of those guys on the court at all times. And they're just going to have all the usage in the world. So my favorite four are Lowry, Powell, Boucher, and then my favorite value guy, the fourth player, Terrence Davis. As far as Detroit goes, we'll check the status of Grant, who's currently questionable. I think he'll play. And his matchup just improved. No Siakam, no OG, right? Mason Plumlee. Toronto just got a whole, not having Siakam down low is a plus. He's 6'9" on FanDuel. How much is Plum Dog on DraftKings? Plumlee is 6'8". Still pretty cheap. Josh Jackson's price came up on DraftKings. I'm not into that. 5'6" on FanDuel, though, I'm cool with. Dennis Smith Jr. is okay. Saban Lee's okay. These guys are all fine. But it's the Toronto side that's really the highlight. And we didn't even get into, Watanabe, right? Who could end up playing bigger minutes. He's actually a part of the rotation. So there are other players. There's going to be a lot to get into on the Y stream tomorrow. For sure. Brooklyn and Houston. James Harden revenge. I mean, it's Houston. Houston's been awful. Literally among, if not the worst, probably the worst team in the league, at least as of late. So while I love the idea of Harden revenge, and I'm sure I'll have some, right? There's definitely some concerns about Houston keeping this game close. Now, on the flip side, maybe John Wall takes this shit personal that Harden didn't want to play with him. Maybe he takes it personal. On the other hand, word on the street is Houston's trying to clear house before the All-Star break. So maybe he's not even there. We'll have to see. But yeah, Harden revenge sounds fun. But there's some concerns about this game staying close. What I want to see is if Green is out. Green's a game time decision. If Jeff Green is doubtful. So with Jeff Green doubtful, I think we go back to Nicholas Claxton, especially if we're under the impression that there could be a blowout. Love this kid, Nicholas Claxton. He's 4-1 on FanDuel. He is, what is he, center? He's 3-3 on DraftKings. Houston's awful against centers. They got nobody. On the other hand, you can also look at DeAndre Jordan, right? He's 5-1. 35 minutes against San Antonio, and he did well. He did go to overtime. He's 5-7 on DraftKings. But again, it just seems like if the game's competitive, he's going to be the one getting majority of the minutes at center. And he's going to play big minutes against a team that has no bigs outside of Justin Patton, right? So, yeah, I think he's fine. But if you think the game's going to be ugly, which I don't see how it can't, then Claxton would be the guy. I'll have a lot of exposure to those two for that reason. For sure. Kyrie's fine. Should be low on, but it's a loaded position. And again, I personally have some concerns about the game staying close. I really do. But they could surprise you. Guys like Oladipo could step it up. John Wall could step it up maybe just for this one game. Jayshon's tape price has come down a little bit on FanDuel specifically. I know Nawab is out for Houston. Eric Gordon missed the last game as well, so we'll have to see where he's at. It's currently questionable. That could open up at least some value. Maybe we have to consider a Sterling Brown type, because Daniel House, I think, also was a little banged up, right? He got hurt in the last game, didn't come back. So Houston can end up pretty damn short. Kenyon Martin not going to return until after the All-Star break. It's kind of interesting. The Houston side is kind of interesting for that reason. So I guess Jayshawn Tate, and he's a young guy too. He'll probably play a ton, regardless. But they could end up pretty short themselves, Houston. Charlotte and Minnesota, another pretty good game. Towns in a phenomenal spot. Charlotte not good against bigs, and we'll have to even see if Cody Zeller plays or not. He's currently questionable. Hasn't played in about 3 games now. But either way, great spot for Towns. LaMelo Ball's price has finally come up on FanDuel. They had him down in the 7s, and it was kind of ridiculous. He was like 60% on against Portland and went for 60 in only 32 minutes. Kind of just crazy. This is a part of their road trip. They've been on a road trip out west. They had a day off, but it is still their third game in 4th nights. They're playing Minnesota, though, who's not a very good team. Ball's in play. His ownership would be a lot lower because his price has come up and because the slate is so massive. Gordon Hayward hasn't played in a little while. He's questionable with a hand injury. We'll check the status on him. Terry Rozier finally kind of came to life against Portland. The 4 steals helped. 7-9 on DraftKings. The price is coming down, but still seems a little steep. FanDuel at 7K, though, I'm in. I'm good. I could dig it. We know Malik Beasley got suspended, which I think paves the way more for Anthony Edwards to kind of get his minutes and usage. And this kid has no issues with usage. He goes out there and likes to shoot. Doesn't do a whole ton peripherally, but he has no issue on that front. PJ Washington is cheap, but we'll have to wait to really get high exposure. We'll have to wait and see the status of Cody Zeller. If Zeller's out, we know Washington's going to end up playing some center. He's going to have his hands full with Cap, but we know the opportunity is going to be there. Malik Monk has played well off the bench. You would want a competitive game for him to be, and he needs to be a little bit more efficient. But there's some interesting plays in this one for sure. It's an interesting game for the JPP. Next up, Chicago and New Orleans. This game should be awesome. I mean, in terms of pace, so we'll see what the actual outcome is. But in terms of pace, Chicago's playing really fast. New Orleans has kicked up their speed. And we know New Orleans plays big minutes. Levine is the guy for Chicago. But he hasn't really been posting the guy numbers, right? In play for tournaments, his ownership's going to be low because he hasn't gone off in a while. A great spot for Zion. I don't love the prices, but it's a great spot for Zion. Bigs against Chicago's awesome. Really good spot, I think, for Brandon Ingram, too, who's 7-8 on FanDuel. 8-4 on DraftKings is not as enticing, but we're going to have so much value that you're going to be able to play whatever you really want to play. I'm good with Lonzo Ball in tournaments. Thaddeus Young continues to be priced somewhere in no man's land despite giving you consistent numbers pretty much every single time. The only thing inconsistent is his minutes, but it seems like even when he plays, no matter what his minutes are, he's going to get you somewhere in the 30s. So I think in tournaments he makes a lot of sense. I'm good with Kobe White, man. He's played well. He's kind of come on. He's 6'5" on FanDuel. On DraftKings, that's never cool. 6K on FanDuel's all right. This is a slate where I'm a little bit concerned about ceiling. I'll throw that out there. And then Steven Adams, man, 5'1". Talked about DeAndre Jordan. I think DeAndre Jordan's minutes are more secure with Green out, but this is also a smash spot for centers. So I think Adams is at least in the conversation, right? Patrick Williams against Zion, that's going to be tough. But a lot of guys kind of take some chances on in this game. I think it's a very game stackable game. Moving on, we've got Atlanta and Orlando. I'll say a decent spot for Vooch. Vooch has been awesome this year, no doubt. Atlanta has not been as bad against centers with Capella there. They really haven't. So I think it's still like Vooch himself is fine. The pace of this game is fine. And Capella is not exactly a top 5 defender, but he has made a difference from Atlanta of the past. Evan Fournier, questionable again, man. This dude just can't stay healthy. If he plays, he's fine for the usage. But either way, whether he plays or not, I think Terrence Ross is once again very interesting. On FanDuel at 5'5", 6'3" on DraftKings. He has the upside, but it's hard to get any substantial exposure. I'd be comfortable getting a decent amount of Ross at 5'5", especially if Fournier was out, but even if Fournier was in. Michael Carter-Williams played really well against Luka. Went for 37, finally had himself a big game. In this scenario, I could see some steals. We know Atlanta likes to play fast, sometimes get a little bit sloppy. They have a new coach, for whatever that's worth. We have a new coach here. Something to keep in mind. And Cam Reddish, currently questionable after missing a bunch of games as well. Al-Farouq Aminu, man. This dude just goes out there, does his 22 minutes, and gets the fuck out. It's legit it. But again, you can see the depth of this slate, man. We got Trae Young here against Orlando. Just in general, the slate is just deep. Really is. Next up, we've got OKC and Dallas. Luka Doncic is currently questionable with a back. Some tightness in his back. If he gets ruled out, that's going to really open things up, right? Jalen Brunson will become a phenomenal play. Josh Richardson, Tim Hardaway, all these guys. Not to mention Porzingis, who did play 32 minutes against Orlando, would be a phenomenal play. Phenomenal. So we'll have to check the status of him. If Luka's in, Luka himself is fine. OKC, not the ideal team that I like to attack. On the flip side, I think that the OKC side would become very interesting. Theo Maledon's only 4,200 on FanDuel. How much is he on DraftKings? Theo. 48. Not as good, but still decent. And remember, Dallas is going to pace these guys up. That's what we have to remember. A really good spot for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Phenomenal spot. And I tell you what, you look at OKC's team and their injuries, and you keep expecting them to get their ass beat, and they just keep being competitive. So props to them. It's a decent spot for Horford. Ceiling is always a concern, but it is a decent spot. Basley, obviously, in tournaments is okay. Maxi Kleber kind of went nuts in his last game. But yeah, man, look at this value that could open up, man. Tim Hardaway Jr. If Luka's out, that's going to be huge. And then Dallas becomes one of the top teams to play along with Toronto. And either way, I think SGA is a really nice looking tournament play against Dallas. For sure. Golden State and New Orleans, one of the late night hammers. This is interesting. Dame and Steph going at it, man. Steph a little bit cheaper. I'm good with getting some Steph Curry exposure. I'm good with getting some Damian Lillard exposure. Draymond Green is kind of an X factor here. If Steph does well, if this game's close and the Warriors do well. Remember, the Warriors are coming off of an ass whooping from the Lakers, but they've had some time off. They haven't played since the 28th, right? They've had a couple of days off. So I expect Golden State to be competitive, and I do like Draymond Green, who has been just smashing when the Warriors play good games. Smashing. So the price is up, but the upside is obviously massive. Kelly Oubre's been awesome. Really good spot for Cantor. I know Golden State got their centers back, but they're still not good defensively against centers, so I think it's a pretty good spot for Cantor either way. Covington's coming off an awesome game, but I think that was we talked about that on the Wise stream. I did come on to Covington a little bit later against Charlotte, just thinking about how sloppy they play, looking for the steals, and he did a little more than that, right? But I think this game is more like a Dame, Cantor, maybe even Melo, who's coming off of a fucking awesome game. Awesome game. I mean, you wouldn't think Melo could do that kind of shit no more. But nonetheless, yeah, I do like this game a lot. Last but not least, we've got the Lakers and the Kings. Lakers, man, in a tough spot. They just lost to Phoenix pretty bad. Booker got ejected. It makes you think that this game should be close against the rest of the Sacramento team, and it makes me interested. Just one more game to add to the slate. Is just loaded. So we have our prime spots to start. We got the Toronto. If Luke is out, we'll have the Dallas. But then it's about working in the right pieces from these games, and there's a lot of them. Anyway, LeBron against Sacramento sounds awesome. I think that De'Aaron Fox is a decent play. Harrison Barnes seems like a really good play because he just seems like a really good play every day. And the minutes are massive. Halliburton's still out. We'll have to see if Marc Gasol plays. He was out for health and safety protocol. We could see another Harrell day, which I think Harrell owes some of us some money. I would rather play him on DraftKings at 5.5. But something to consider. Buddy Hield coming off a really good game against Charlotte. His minutes have gone right back up with Halliburton out, and he's 5.6 on FanDuel, real cheap. Obviously, the Hassan is still out, right? So Bagley's going to get some opportunity. The matchup for Bagley should be phenomenal either way, right? So Bagley is kind of looking interesting. 34 minutes against Charlotte. That was good to see. I do think I like Bagley. This is a really good game too, man. Wow. This is a tough one. We haven't even addressed everybody yet. This is going to be a wild slate. And we only have, I think, 2 left, right? This one, and then I think Thursday, and then we have the All-Star break. It's going to be wild. It's going to be a lot of fun. Make sure to check out my article, which comes out at WiseTake.com. Core plays, Paulie D's fast break cheat sheet. And I'll be tweaking the projections all day as we get news as usual. And make sure you catch the Wise stream, which is over at WiseTake.com. Day pass $2.50. Go check it out. Hit the like button on your way out. I appreciate all you took the time to watch, listen, whatever it is. For myself, the entire WiseTake Nation, as always, good luck.